So I used to charge men by the minute to have conversations with me. The girls that know, right? And most, if not all of the conversations would just be about the books I read. Men were very intrigued by the type of literature that I would read, right? I would talk to men about Ayn Rand, right? And break down her philosophy into things, right? And men were very intrigued. These were most of the men that I spoke to were older white men, right? And of course, it was probably a fetish to speak to a younger black woman. But anyway, I made coin. They would send me tips and the things, right? And that was a small part of my life. You know, I recommend that women find a lane that they're good in and make money in it, even if it's a short period of time, so that you can know the value that people will pay you for. Now, it's not hard for people to believe that I would charge people to speak to me because you listen to me online every day. I can prop my phone up and talk endlessly about what interests me. I don't have to have conversations with anyone. I'm a good orator, however you choose to say it, right? I just have a gift to be able to speak to people and engaged, right? Engage with people. I'm funny, I'm charismatic. I have a gift and I monetize on that gift, right? And that's a gift that many people don't have. To have a fulfilling conversation with people is very rare. And this is someone who's in the world amongst average people, right? It's difficult to have long, intriguing conversations with most people, right? And so I was able to monetize on something that is a rare. It's rare and it's valuable, right? People at the end of the day want to be mentally stimulated, right? And I pointed out that they were older men because usually younger men, all they want to do is fuck. It's not about intelligence at that point, right? They just want to run through you. After a certain age, men just want to be mentally stimulated. And so I was able to capitalize off of that. Right. So I'm telling that story because every couple of months, the conversation of women being paid crazy amounts of money for companionship, right? Blows people's mind, right? The latest conversation is Aisha Diaz, I believe her name is. And she said that she requires $50K a month for her companionship. And you have average men who don't make $50,000 a year calling her a 304 and it's going to ruin women and all of these things, right? And that's not rare for someone like her in proximity to men who can afford it. She's not talking to you, man. She's not talking to the average man who probably doesn't even make $50K a year. The average salary is like $30,000 or something like that. You don't have $50K to give to a woman that looks like that, right? And men are not the only delusional ones because there are women who will listen to her who are not in proximity to men who can afford that and who don't. We have to be realistic with things, right? You have to look a certain way to get certain things, right? And so, the other day I said in one of my videos, women have to be realistic. All women are not beautiful. And this woman left a long fucking diatribe about how I'm feeding into patriarchal standards. And I'm not feeding into anything. Women need to be realistic. Every woman is not beautiful. And so men are not the only ones that have to be realistic. Women do too. Because most women are around average men who can't really afford to take care of them. Most men can't afford to take care of a woman. Never mind give a woman $50,000 for her companionship. But there's always discourse around women who can afford or do have access to men that can pay them for their time and pay them handsomely. Now, it may be shocking or unbelievable to most average people that I would charge men by the minute to speak to me. Just to have conversations on the phone. I'll put my phone on speaker and have conversations with men. Why? Because most people don't have the skill to do that. Right now, this is coming from someone who has conversations on a daily basis with average people. I'm in the world amongst average people. Most women could not do that. Just listening to their tone of voice, the things that they talk about. Women are loquacious by nature. We talk a lot by nature. That's how we express ourselves. But the ability to monetize that is difficult for most people. Now, people will assume that I have to be doing more because they can't monetize themselves in that way. And I literally do it on social media. That's another thing. It's hard for people to believe that people are making money on social media just by sitting and talking because they don't have the skill. Right? And so this is why I say, women learn what makes you valuable, not just useful, right? Remember, those are two different things. We're all useful. We all can be used. But what makes you valuable? People pay me hundreds of dollars to talk to me. Thousands of dollars, if you add it up in the year, just to talk to me. Many people cannot do that. So it's unfathomable to the people that can't do it. Right? And you may have a skill or a value that people will pay for that other people are like, why would somebody pay you for that? Because that's your value. They don't have it. Right? And to hear people speak on things that they have no knowledge of is insane, or that they don't even have access to. So the last time the internet was in an uproar of a woman being paid for her beauty and time was Bernice Burgos. And I think she said she made $70,000 in one night or something like that from being a bottle girl. That's not hard to believe because that lifestyle is totally different from the average person. Again, most people won't make $70,000 in a year. So it's unfathomable to them that a woman would just make that kind of money. She's working. She's in the she's serving drinks. Her body looks good. She's pretty. Right? And men want to be around that. See, the average man can't afford to be around women like that. And so it triggers them. And the average woman would never get paid just to exist and be pretty. That's just the truth. And that bothers the average person. And these are the people that's online calling her old and all of these things, and she's lying. You can say all the things, but you can't say she's ugly, and you can't say she's not bad. Men are paying. So I built my Instagram following off of thirst traps. And I wasn't monetizing it in any way. Where I was making my money was teaching women, right? But there were men in my proximity and online who thought because they was able to see me online being sexy that I was monetizing it. And they believed that I could do that because of the content that I was posting. Right? But it was hard for them to believe that I would just want to be like that online, that I would just want to be sexy. And it was hard for women to believe that because the average woman is not sexy. The average woman has no sex appeal. When they're having sex and men want to fuck them, but having sex appeal is a totally different ball game that most women don't have sex appeal. Again, this is somebody, I don't live on the internet. I live in the real world, and I'm around women daily. Most women have no sex appeal, right? So having certain gifts, being able to monetize certain things, right, is unfathomable to people who cannot do the same thing. And they will try to call you a liar and, try to spin the narrative and make everything project their insecurities onto you because they cannot do what you do. Right? This is why I don't really listen to the average person. I don't listen to the average man because, listen, I could tell a story I can tell many stories about one time when I could have got a brownstone in Brooklyn from a man. Simply because I know how to engage. And I'm nice to look at. Right? But again, the average man cannot do that. And the average woman will not get that. And there will be people who listen to this and say, well, why don't you live like that? Why don't you, live off of men? Why don't you, why do you work? Why do you do these things? It's because my purpose is greater than just making myself available to men in trade for something, right? No shade to anybody that does that, right? Get it how you get it. But more is required of me. But because a lot of people struggle, many women don't have access to that. They can't do it, right? They don't have men that would do it because most things are about looks. But women can enhance themselves so you can look better and get what you need, right? It's hard for people who struggle or who would love to live like that to believe that I would purposely not live like that. It's because I have a greater calling on my life, right? So I'm Gen X, right? I'm pre-internet, right? And so everything I learned was me being in the world and dealing with people. Things are happening in the real world that's unfathomable to people who don't have access to that. This is why I don't even, I'm around average men. I'm in proximity to average men all the time. I don't listen to most of the shit they say because they don't have access to certain women. They will never have access to certain women. They will never be able to pay anybody to do anything. They have to take women on cheap dates. They have to marry as soon as possible because they cannot afford long term to trick their money. These are I work for mine. I save for retirement. I pay for medical insurance. All these things that are required to live in the world. So I understand what the average man can and cannot do. That's why I don't even listen to them. Why are y'all talking about Aisha Diaz? You will never be in proximity to women like that, brother. Please rest. You got to get up tomorrow and go down to them people's job and clock it. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. The working class man is the backbone of society. But your focus needs to be on the women that you can have access to. You don't have access to Aisha Diaz. You have access to Aisha at the job. Right? That is, as I've said before, I see the women that I'm in proximity to, who they're married to, who they sleep with, who they slide off with. I have yet to be impressed. You don't have access to those kinds of women. That's just what it is. And most women will never be in that position. These things are offensive to people, right? But whilst women will claim that they don't want to be that. They don't want to be a 3 or 4. They don't want to, not saying that she's a hoe, a 3 or 4. But she's transactional with men, as all women are. We're all transactional with men. We're all trading. It's just different levels of trade. And most women won't be on that level. And most men won't have access to women on that level. Just go to bed because you got to get up in the morning.